Good evening. It is August. It is August 2nd, 2021. I almost said 22. I'll recognize that we have a full complement of Township Committee in attendance for tonight's meeting. Committeeman Hickey, Committeewoman Fernandez, Committeewoman Moraski are here in person. Committeeman Stevenson is attending this meeting via Zoom. Doug, how you doing?
Good evening, everybody.
You're still breathing, so work hasn't bogged you down to the point of not breathing yet.
Still breathing.
Good. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting at the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News, Somerville, Burnsville News, Whippany, and to all subscribers and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 7, 2021.
Great, thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Didn't want to be blocking the flag. Before we get into the rest of tonight's meeting, just as we've been doing for a while, just going to go over the COVID numbers. So as of August 2nd, and this information is coming off the Somerset County website, Bedminster has had throughout the pandemic itself 442 cases, and we remain at 5 fatalities attributed to COVID-19. The 442 cases is an increase of 4 from our last meeting on July 19th. And as I've said before, certainly the frequency with which the COVID positive cases are coming through is decreasing. It's remained flat. Days go by where we don't see any notices of a COVID case, but it is obviously still around. Vaccinations, the vaccination rate for Bedminster, and this comes off the state website. And once again, I qualify the numbers because they don't make sense, but I'm going to put them out there. Vaccinations, so of all ages, the total population in Bedminster, and this is based on census numbers from 2010, I believe. 71% of Bedminster residents have received at least 1 dose. And if you drill down to age groups, so 18 and over, at least 1 dose is 80%, 30 and over, 81%, 65 and over, 101%. As I said, data is coming from the state website. And as I've said before, there are towns that are reporting, or the state is reporting for them, well over 100%. So think of these as relative numbers, right? That would appear that a majority of Bedminster residents have had at least 1 dose. And for the sensitive population of 65 and over, a significant majority. Fully vaxxed, so that's fully vaccinated either with the J&J 1 shot or the 2 shots with Pfizer and Moderna. All ages, 65% fully vaccinated, 18 and over, 74%, 30 and over, 76%, 65 and over, fully vaccinated, 97%. Now, once again, I qualify that the data is coming from the state website. The state gives some reasons for why you might see numbers over 100%. I don't think those reasons are necessarily applicable to Bedminster's situation. But all in all, I'll take this as positive that a large proportion of Bedminster residents are getting vaccinated. And perhaps that explains why our caseload of positive numbers or positive cases is staying relatively flat. So take that as a good sign. The Delta variant is obviously around, and to some extent, the anecdotal information coming from some of the health departments, both the county and the state, is that the Delta variant is responsible for the uptick in cases, both locally and at the state level. But also the anecdotal information remains that the vaccinations are protective against the variants. And to the extent there is breakthrough, certainly the vaccinations are minimizing the symptoms of those who may get the Delta variant, even on a breakthrough. So once again, if you haven't, you might want to consider getting the vaccination. Couple other things that I wanted to mention. If anyone's been driving on Route 202, 206 by the River Road jug handle, just as we've talked before about, we've been pestering DOT to move forward with the improvements. They have moved forward with those improvements. And right now, what's in place are the restriping of the jug handle itself. So you'll see that there's a yellow line from 202, 206 north to south, where the Jersey barriers are open. And there's also new arrows on both 202, 206 northbound and 202, 206 southbound on both sides, both the inner roadway and the outer roadway, to let folks know that if you want to make a turn, you use the jug handle, that the through lanes on 202, 206, both north and south, are through lanes. Those are straight. Don't make your left, don't make your right, go straight. But that's not the end of the DOT improvements. We are still waiting on the signage, which should be forthcoming. We, once again, just as I've been doing with the striping and those signs or the arrows, continue to follow up with our friends over at DOT to make sure that the signage goes up and goes up quickly. So we'll hopefully be seeing some of that work in the next couple of weeks as well. So stay tuned, and we'll see if we can get all those improvements done and provide some additional safety for that jug handle. Let's see. Last week we had was it the end of watch motorcycle ride, an organization called Beyond the Call of Duty, which was here last week honoring Sergeant Patterson. Renee, Colin and I attended, as well as just about everyone from Bedminster Township staff and the police department and Sergeant Patterson's family. The event is organized by some police, fallen police members from Spokane, Washington. And that's where the organization starts. And what they do is they get in some support trucks, and they have a group of motorcycles, and they ride from town to town where there has been a fatality in the police department. And they go across the country. And they came here, I forget where they came here from, but I know they were heading up to
and then to Suffolk, Long Island.
right. And then from Long Island, they were going to Rhode Island.
Right.
So they had a busy time, but they came in, the police picked up pizza from Pizza Brothers. So we want to give a shout out to Pizza Brothers, and also to Cold Stone Creamery, which brought a ice cream truck out there for primarily for Sergeant Patterson's family and all the kids that came out, but also to all the folks who were in attendance as well. It was a very nice event. They are really the volunteers from Beyond the Call of Duty, very dedicated. And you could tell that it was everything they were doing was sincere, was from the heart. They had been through their own situations, and it was just a very nice event. So just, Renee, Colin, if you guys have anything to add to.
It was just great. It was great to hear that every city that Township they could warmly receive.
Right.
And they're goodness, the same thing. Just, they do this on their own dime, and Some of them have suffered their own losses, the organizers themselves. It's great to see.
And, that was one of the questions that, we were asking them. It's like, in this current climate where police sometimes by some communities are not as welcomed or as well received as they should be, how are they being received, right? What was that reception they were getting as they were going to different towns? Sometimes the places they were going were more urban, sometimes they were countries or out in the country. And they said, across the board, it's well received. They're honoring officers who have fallen. And they said that is viewed favorably by residents, by community, and certainly welcome from the police departments that they've been visiting. So very nice event. And once again, thank you to all those organizers. There's something else I wanted to talk about, which is we had a passing of a resident that I just want to remark upon, which was Joan Brady. So 9 months earlier, we had talked about her husband passing, Jim Brady, and the Brady family, well known in Bedminster and in Somerset County in this area. The Bradys together were responsible for a lot of the land management and the open space and the preservation of our green areas, our forested areas. Much of what we see when we look at Western Bedminster and Pottersville and other areas, even outside of Bedminster, is attributed to some of the land management practices that the Bradys had when they owned a lot of that land, and when they sold it and put certain preservation and did subdivisions to accommodate agricultural and forested properties. Joan Brady was a fixture at our very own Bedminster Farmers Market, was there from the very beginning. And we knew something was not right when she didn't show up this year. And speaking to her son, Jim, it was clear that, she wanted to come to the market, but she just couldn't make it. We will miss her. Joan Brady was an artist, actually a relatively famous artist and author and a devotee to all the arts, and big supporter of a lot of the volunteer organizations and community organizations and civic organizations here in Bedminster and in Somerset County. So condolences to all the Brady family. And once again, we certainly appreciate the time that we got to spend with Joni Brady. Public comment for any member of the public who is either here in person or participating on this call via Zoom, whether by phone or by their computer. If you're participating by phone and you wish to make a public comment, dial *9 and you'll be recognized by Ms. Ray. If you are participating by your computer, take your cursor, scroll down to participants, click on raise hand, you'll be recognized by Ms. Ray. If you are here in person, microphone and a dais right there, or lectern. Now's your chance. No chance? You saving it for later? Because there's no later. Okay. Ms. Ray, do we have anyone in queue for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we will move on. Minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. July 6, 2021 Township Committee meeting, the July 6 Executive meeting, and the July 19th Township Committee meeting. Any comments regarding those minutes? If none, may we have motion to approve all of them?
So moved.
Oh, Larry, if you could, I can only participate in one of the 2. I don't know if you want to break it out because I have to abstain from the 19th.
Okay, we'll make note that you're abstaining from July 19, correct?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, with that, motion to approve? Oh, already made by Gina
Yes, I'm moving.
and seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
With Doug abstaining on July 19th. Okay, social affair permits. We're going to run through the first three and we'll hold off the fourth. First, social affair permit to benefit the Brooke Healy Foundation on September 20, 2021 from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 811 Rattlesnake Bridge Road. Second, social fair permit to benefit the American Cancer Society on October 11, 2021 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Hamilton Farm Golf Club, 1040 Pottersville Road, Bedminster, New Jersey. The third, an on-premise 50/50 raffle license to benefit Trinitas Health Foundation on September 28, 2021, Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 811 Rattlesnake Bridge Road, Bedminster. Any questions or comments regarding those first three permits and licenses? Okay, can we have a motion to approve those first three?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so the fourth is a special use permit by Old Farms Orchards, Burnt Mill Cidery, for live musical performance at Burnt Mill Cider, located at 3540 Route 206, Bedminster. And I believe we have John Coates, the proprietor of Burnt Mill Cider, to talk about his request. So go ahead, John.
Thank you, Mayor. The request is simple. We'd like to have bands perform at the cidery on days that we're open. I'd like this to be an open-ended request for the next 12 months. We did, as you may recall, have permission to do a handful of specific dates that were linked to really the fundraising events in May. We had basically a mixed reception. Some people in the neighborhood didn't like it. We learned from that experience, so we would probably aim to relocate the bands that might be louder and have them point away from Route 206 and towards the tree line behind the barn. As you also may recall, the Land Use Board approved the construction of a covered shelter, which is yet to be built, but that could serve as a place for bands to play. Otherwise, we just have them in the same locations that we had in we had specified in the May request. Basically, right around the patio, either to the west where they face the barn, or to the east, where if it's maybe more of an acoustic duo type of thing, a quieter band that they could play. Those bands never got loud enough to receive complaints from neighbors. But that's basically it.
So John, what hours are you looking for the special use permit?
Our opening hours. So Wednesday to Friday, 4 to 9 p.m. Saturday, 12 to 9 p.m. and Sundays and holidays from 12 to 6 p.m.
So that doesn't mean that they'd be performing that entire time, but that would be the hours that you would like to, if you are going to have music, those are the hours that would be available to you.
Yeah, and if I were asked to drill down on it, the reality is we're more interested in having bands come and play on a Thursday or a Friday night. They tend to play for a couple hours, 2 to 3 hours. Maybe they'd start around 5 and finish around 8. If we were to do it on a weekend, I'd be more inclined to do it in the afternoon. Same thing, bands would play for 2 to 3 hours. and it's open-ended because a lot of times there are events that this will coincide with an event, and we just don't have these things, scheduled. We don't know what the next 12 months will look like.
Okay, so just for background, I did, over the course of last couple of months, there were at least 2 complaints on noise that came in. And I did reach out to John about it, and John adjusted the, I guess, the direction that the music was played. And by the way, the complaints that I received were from Union Grove Road, which means the sound carried over 206 and I guess uphill, right? Because Union Grove, John's property is a little higher than 206, but not at the elevation of Union Grove, but it must have carried across there. I did follow up with at least one of the folks who, after John had made those adjustments, said he didn't hear it anymore. So apparently those adjustments worked. I don't know if the new direction that John is discussing may result in folks from PPAC. But for now, the adjustments that John did make did work. John, when's the last time you had music out there?
The end of May.
Okay.
It was one of the dates where I don't remember, but it was a late May event.
It might have been, was it Pottersville? Were you guys out there? Was it? Okay. All right, so let's open up to the TC for comments.
John, this is a combination of acoustic as well as amplified music.
You would be, yes.
And I know we had this conversation, and the mayor hinted at this, and we talked about this at land use in terms of the directionality of the music, pointing towards the woods versus pointing towards 206. And what can be done should we receive complaints going forward from residents?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. In no way do we want to be a nuisance to our residents. We're mindful that there's people that do live around, and we don't want over the long term, we don't want to be annoying anybody. So if we're made aware that people are unhappy or they can hear it for any reason, then we'll adjust. We'll react to it responsibly. What I suspect is that the bands that have amplified music with certain instruments like drums, that noise, that sound and bass, that just carries farther. So it might be that we'll have to consider bands or musicians who don't have that set of instruments. So, but we'll respond, and if it's a problem, then I really don't mind, because I really don't mind saying that if there's a problem and if it's persistent, we are happy to shut that down. We don't want to be a nuisance to our neighbors. I don't think it's going to be a nuisance. But again, we have to kind of do it, to find out if it's a problem.
Any other questions or comments?
No, as long as it's within the hours of, that you mentioned before 9 p.m., et cetera, I think that the live music adds a nice ambiance to your Bedminster business. And I'm for it, again, as long as the amplified music is kept, at a certain noise level and the hours are reasonable. I'm okay with it.
Okay. Doug?
Same comments as Gina.
Okay. So what I propose is to grant the permit, but to include a reservation that the township reserves the right to revoke, restrict, or condition the permit based upon the township receiving complaints. It's going to be subjective, but look, we're not trying to put restrictions in place, but we do have to be mindful, John, just as you said, give it a shot and let's see how it works, and let's see how the residents or your neighbors react. This way it gives you the ability to proceed. And frankly, if there's no complaints, then it's hands off from us. If there are complaints, then we'll work with our professionals to figure something out that's going to be appropriate, and with you as well. So that's my proposal to the TC. And I'll just, I would put this into the special use permit if we so authorize it.
I like the idea of putting that in because that would encourage someone who is bothered by the noise to reach out. There's nothing worse than sitting there miserable and you don't tell anybody, because then you can't fix it. So with residents would be encouraged, if there is a problem, to let us know or let John know, we can fix it and have it not be a problem any longer.
And by the way, probably a lot of the residents know how to reach John. So they don't necessarily even have to come to the town or to the mayor. Or to any of the TC members. They could go to John directly, and I'm sure that John will make the accommodations as appropriate. So with that, motion to approve the special use permit 12 months during the hours of operations. That's Wednesday to Friday, 4 to 9, Saturday, 12 to 9, Sundays, 12 to 6, with the township reserving the right to revoke, restrict, or condition based upon complaints.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, John, good luck.
Good night,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Monthly report discussion by subcommittee chair. Committeeman Stevenson.
Good evening, everybody. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so forgive me for the bit of a delay on the report, but I wanted to report back on the historic preservation. That one of the pieces that came out of that was we were notified by an outfit in Minnesota about a potential cell tower. And forgive me if you went through this last meeting, but a proposed cell tower next to Hamilton Farms Golf Club and 206 was suggested that they were soliciting input from the Historic Preservation Committee as to whether we wanted to be a stakeholder and someone who wanted to be heard in connection with the process. And the curious part about it was that it was being applied for by the county of Morris. And I understand since then we've gotten Mr. Bellardo involved, and it looks like it's been a joint effort between Morris and Somerset County. So I just wanted to report back to that, but also acknowledge the fact that we've made the communications and that we're dealing with that. So that was my only real update from historic preservation. There was another applicant that wanted to, he's got 2 properties in Pluckaman in the village, was interested in doing some sort of site plan, and we referred him to the planning board and to the planning board secretary to just sort of talk through in broad strokes as to what that would be involved. He was a little bit reluctant to start spending the money without knowing that what he wanted to do would have been okay. So we got a bit of a chicken and the egg, but we referred him to the land use secretary and to start that conversation. So you may see that coming through at some point in the next couple of months. And then I guess on DPW, I don't know if Colin, you want to report on the New Jersey American Water project up on Ski Hill Drive, sort of a quasi DPW project / utility project, but they're going to be repairing a main up on Ski Hill. So they've got some temporary piping going on, and that work is it's undergone. And I think they've got everything that they need to in the ground to run the temporary line to change out the main. So, more to follow on that, but we've got the above lines up here, and it looks like it's going fairly smoothly.
Okay. Thank you for that report, Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. I did attend the Bedminster Board of Education meeting last Thursday. There was a spirited discussion on two topics, masks in schools and the diversity curriculum that will be upcoming this year. First on masks, several parents were advocating that the school not require students to wear masks in the fall for both their physical as well as their mental well-being. The board indicated that the school district currently has no plans to implement a mask mandate in the fall, but obviously things could change between now and then, particularly if the state mandates one at some point, which at that point they will have to follow. So again, the parents were fairly adamant in terms of their desire not to see a mask mandate unless it was put down by the state. The diversity curriculum brought out a lot of parents, or comments from a number of parents. The state has imposed on all school districts new diversity curriculum requirements for the upcoming school year, including LGBTQ+ materials for grades 6 through 8. This sparked about a half hour of public comments. The concerns expressed while directed to the board appear to be in opposition to the state mandates and the perception that parents' rights were being subsumed or being ignored. The board indicated that each district has discretion in terms of the selection of material and what is taught. So what's happening in one school district may not necessarily be the case in another. The board emphasized that the focus of the curriculum is on embracing diversity and inclusion, and that concerned parents should first reach out to their child's teachers for specifics on content and presentation. If the concern is not addressed, the board emphasized that parents follow chain of command from the teacher, the principal, the superintendent, and ultimately the BOE to get the situation resolved. And I have to say, the board handled a difficult situation with aplomb. These are complex conversations that need to happen in every school district, and kudos to the parents, teachers, and administrators in Bedminster for having a very constructive dialogue on the topic. And Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Committeewoman Mareski.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. None of my committees met. However, I did attend a meeting through the county on EV charging. Just a quick update on their program. Apparently, they're going to be putting in Bridgewater Commons, they'll be putting in some electric chargers. On August 26th, I'll be attending a program discussing how they're going to be doing that and when and where. I did ask them what kind of vehicles are other towns using for their police department. Everybody got a good giggle out of that one when they said the Ford Mustang is a common choice. I think that'd be great, except it's not on the state contract, so we probably won't be going with that. They also said the Tesla was a common choice. I think the chief would love one of those. And the other one that they did mention was the Ford Explorer Intercept Hybrid. So I'll be looking into those to see if and when we need our new vehicles, if any of those are appropriate for our police department. I'm sure that our police department probably needs a four-wheel drive vehicle versus a Mustang, which I think is still front-wheel drive, considering the weather we have around here. And that's about it.
Did they indicate whether they were going to expand the electric vehicles on the state, under the state contract?
They did not. They did not.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
That's something that we've been
they're-
asking for, for a while. We get these grants to install the EV charging stations, and we coordinate with DEP and the other state representatives. When are you going to start putting these on under the state contracts, make it easier for municipalities to purchase them?
Yeah, they're still the small little vehicles, which might be fine for, some of our departments, when we need to add in a new vehicle or replace one. But for the most part, it's not going to work for our DPW department or the police. I know that they are developing new vehicles, but they're not on the state. As far as I know, they're not on the state contract. Unless, Judd, do you know anything? Okay.
Electric
So we'll see.
fire truck?
Electric fire.
Crazy.
Water, electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not a good thing.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going into our 6th week of Bedminster camp. Everything is going wonderful. And tomorrow is the first night of adult outdoor sand volleyball at our lovely Plaquemine Schoolhouse Park. And that will run on Tuesdays, I think 8 Tuesdays from 6 p.m. till dark, and it's for adults. So if you haven't signed up, I'm sure if you contact our rec director, you could sign up last minute if you'd like to. But registrations were due June 30th, but I'm sure if you give them a call, you might be able to get in there for tomorrow. And that's all the updates I have right now.
So I'm going to talk about library, and it was a relative. Colin was there with me. It was a relatively routine library board meeting, except there was an announcement that the children's librarian, Helen Peterson, is retiring. Now, she's been the children's librarian since as long as I've had children. And Robin, maybe you go back a little further. So she's been a mainstay at the library for certainly most of us. And just a wonderful person, great with the kids, fantastic recommendations on books and reading to the children and promoting reading to all children. And she really was a gem of the library. And for most of us, frankly, that was our first entree into the library itself, because we were bringing our kids there.
Yeah.
You go downstairs and there, Mrs. Peterson was there to take your kid in, show them the library, sit them down, pick out a book and start reading. And it was just, just a wonderful experience, and really kept a lot of these kids in reading, in books, and in the library. And it was good to know that although she's retiring, she will still be doing book readings at the library. And so certainly on behalf of the entire Township Committee and the Library Board, we thank Mrs. Peterson for all her work and for her contributions to Bedminster and to all the kids in our communities. Ladies Board, we have a meeting on Thursday. I think there's one residential application up in Pottersville. That's it from Land Use Board. Just a quick reminder that on September 9th, we are having a joint session. So that's a Thursday, the joint session of the Land Use Board with the Township Committee. And that's for the presentation with the county and our planning consultants on zoning opportunities for the AT&T property in Bedminster. So once again, September 9th, joint session, Township Committee and the Land Use Board. Farmers Market this last weekend, we had an extremely busy day. Over 900 customers coming through. I'm just going to attribute it to the weather, because typically end of July, people go on vacation, numbers drop off a bit. I asked Colin, we haven't had anything in that range since the day we opened during COVID. So we may have surpassed it that one opening day, but 915, it was just constant. And to our friends at Pottersville Fire Department, we may be looking for a food vendor for this coming Saturday and for a couple other Saturdays. So if there's any interest, reach out to me, Robin, or Neil Mastrobuono, our rec director and farmers market manager. That's all I have. Ms. Ray, may we have the administrator's report?
Sure. So the deadline for the JIS best practices checklist has actually been extended to November 1st, so we still have some more time to work on our personnel policies, procedures manual, and an abbreviated employee handbook. So we're taking what was done by our previous HR consultant. We've been going section by section and updating where necessary. And then the next step is to review with all the department heads later this month. We're also moving forward with the process of administering performance appraisals for township employees. We're going to begin with mid-year performance appraisals for DPW employees before John Nance's retirement, so we can provide a basis for future reviews. With regard to IT, on July 23rd, Committeeman Hickey and I met with our IT manager, Vishant Saran, for our monthly IT touch base meeting. We reviewed various IT topics, including the police department with server room and enhancements, laptop endpoint protection, access point security. We also discussed threat detection, website accessibility, RAID mobile communications, phone system, and setting up some new decentralized file sharing for various departments. Police reports are over this past weekend to provide minimal disruption to employees in the police department. Vishant was able to move the equipment into the new secure server room, which has been a project going on for about 3 months now. He routed the old and new cables. He reconnected everything and tested to make sure that everything's working appropriately. So, and everything is as of now, so that's a big deal. This week he's got to do a lot of tidying up and securing the wires just to move forward. So we still have some work ahead of us. As far as RAID mobile communications, this was a topic we had discussed several months back. It's a public alert and information platform that we are interested in bringing to Bedminster so we can improve communications with our residents. We received an updated quote from RAID Mobile Safety, which we found very favorable, and we'd like to be moving forward with that. I know Colin was very instrumental in this, bringing this to Bedminster. I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add.
Robin, you nailed it. So.
All right, great. And Mayor Jacobs actually touched upon this earlier. This past Tuesday, July 27th, Bedminster Township was hosted a nonprofit Beyond the Call of Duty and Watch Riots, and it was to honor Sergeant Alfred Patterson. I know Chief Rock could not be here with us tonight, but he actually said that was a powerful and emotional tribute to Tariq and all his officers who left loved ones behind. JC Schott, was the founder of the event, and he's from, as the mayor says, from Caney, Washington. His family is dedicated to raising awareness of the first responders that were lost in the line of duty. There were 339 lost officers images on this trailer that was really quite moving. And everybody had a different story, so it was very interesting. And it seems like each of the people that were organizing the event knew everything about every single one of the officers, which was really nice. And the tax collector and tax assessor, let me give you a little update. Last time we spoke, we didn't have the tax bills. Well, they are being printed as we speak. We should have them hopefully tomorrow. We've been updating the website continually, and everybody will be all hands on deck. Everybody here is just going to help get these bills out. The grace period for third quarter taxes will be extended through the end of the month of August.
So real quick, so actually at the farmer's market, this is rare, but maybe this is unique to Bedminster. People were coming up to me saying, when are you sending me my tax bill?
Really?
Come in here all day.
And I explained that we've been waiting on the state to approve the budgets. So that's been done. So the state has now formally approved the budgets. So now the tax bills are being printed. Have they been printed already, or?
No, just as of today, they're being printed. So the county just certified the tax rate last week, and that gave the authority for the printers to move forward with printing the tax bills. So that ours got started today.
Okay, so I'm actually on the Bedminster website right now, and I noticed this earlier. So right now, what it reads is 2021, 2022 tax bills are tentatively scheduled to be mailed later this week. The grace period will be extended until the end of the month. Is it through the end of the month? It's through August 31st?
Yep.
Okay, and thank you for your continued patience. So that is accurate. So the bills will go out.
That went out. That
Okay.
was updated this morning.
Great. Okay.
And just with regard to the tax assessor, since we've been talking about cannabis, I thought it was kind of interesting. The 2020 farmland assessments and woodland management applications were all due today to the assessor. And just some key changes for the tax year 2022 that were relative to this New Jersey Cannabis Act was that cannabis, two things came out of it this year that's new to the applications. Cannabis growers, whether you're medical or recreational, may not operate or be located on land that's valued, assessed, or taxed as an agricultural or horticultural use. and the other had to do with hemp farming, that licensed, farmers licensed by the New Jersey Department of Agriculture to produce hemp may operate on property receiving farmland assessment and may apply for farmland assessment for a property that had not been assessed previously. Let me just share that.
So,
Two changes.
so growing cannabis is considered a commercial use, so it's not subject to farmland to the farmland assessment. And hemp, but you have to get approved by the state. So once you're licensed by the state to grow hemp, then you can grow that on farmland assessed property. Okay. All right.
So that was interesting to point out. So that's all I have.
No, okay, thank you. Discussion on introduced ordinances scheduled for public hearings. We don't have any public hearings scheduled, but we do have two ordinances to introduce. And the first ordinance to introduce is ordinance 2021-015. Is an ordinance appropriating $37,260 for various equipment for the Pottersville Volunteer Fire Department. And we have the current president and the former president.
Current president and the vice president.
We have the president and the, okay. Tom and Tony, come on up. If you just want to walk through any of the items in the appropriation.
My name is Tony Carinelli. I'm the president of the Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company. And the first thing I'd like to do is thank Ms. Ray for guiding some real novices through this process to arrive here tonight. Otherwise, I don't know we could pull it off without her and her able employee, Sarah. Also helped quite a bit. So it's not just fire equipment, it's life safety equipment. So that's what thank the mayor and the committee to sleep and entertaining us here tonight. So
We can entertain you anytime. And hopefully we are entertaining.
it should be very interesting.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
Make a TV show.
No, thank you. So this, Tom, anything? Nope. Okay, Tom Anderson has nothing to add. This is not the public hearing. This is just the introduction of the ordinance. The public hearing for the ordinance will be scheduled for August 16th, 2021 at in these chambers. So unless there's any further questions regarding the ordinance, or whether it's a question for Robin or to Tony or Tom.
Yeah.
If not, may we have a motion to introduce ordinance 2021-015.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Boraski,
aye.
Ms. Fernandez,
Aye.
and Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next ordinance we have for tonight is ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-016, and ordinance amending subsection 9-1.3 entitled Fees for Construction Permit. And as Tom and Tony are leaving, good night and
Bye.
thank you for your
Thank you for
service.
your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye, guys.
So this is an ordinance amending subsection 9-1.3 entitled Fees for Construction Permit. This ordinance amends the township fee schedule for construction permits pursuant to the recommendation of the Township Construction Code official who is with us tonight. Ken Rogers is here. So I know, Ken, you've been working with Gina and Renee on this ordinance. So I'm actually going to pass it over to Gina if you want to introduce Ken and sort of walk us through the what's in this ordinance.
So Ken worked up a proposal for us to increase our fees that have not been increased in years. And I met with two realtors, local realtors, and the owner of a local real estate agency, and they deemed the fees, the fee increase is very reasonable, that renovations are always a good return on investment in a desirable area, therefore people are getting their money back from their investment. The fee increases include very minimal, $2 increase per $1,000 worth of work for renovations. So roofing and siding on townhomes in the hills, went from $150 to $165. An in-ground pool went from $150 application to $165, and above ground $40, $50. So these are just some examples of the fee increases, very minimal. And we decided not to penalize residents for having open permits. And next year we will be upgrading our software to an online version of permit applications, et cetera. More user-friendly. The new program will align with the new state requirements that just came out and provide a higher quality of service to our residents.
Okay, great. Ken, anything to add?
Just recommending that it be done. It hasn't been done for quite a while. It reflects about a 1.5% increase over the past 5 or 6 years since the last time we did do a fee increase. So as it was stated already, very, very reasonable for fees, and it will help prevent the construction office from becoming a burden to taxpayers, because we would not want taxpayers to try to support the construction office, because construction office should be self-supporting through the permit fees.
And will these increases, and with certainly whatever is projected for next year, will that also help contribute to the funds to get the new upgrades for the database or the computer system?
Yes, and also the state allows for kind of a short-term fee increase to help subsidize the cost of the new, because they're requiring this new software. They are enabling townships to provide a fee increase. But to Ken's point is that we haven't increased fees yet. Salaries have increased. We've had to buy vehicles, right? And if it's not subsidized, but if it's not covered by the cost of fee increases, then it goes on all taxpayers, to
Right.
pay it. So to his point, like, let this stay in the construction department as opposed to spreading it across all taxpayers.
And I think it's important, just as Gina, as you did, that you reached out to some contractors and some brokers, and they said that this increase is consistent with other towns and is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Renee, anything further on this ordinance?
No.
Okay, so this ordinance, if introduced, the public hearing would be scheduled for August 16, 2021 at 7 o'clock in these chambers. Having said that, may we have a motion to introduce ordinance number 2021-016?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Since we have no public hearing of ordinances, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. These are resolutions of a routine nature, so unless someone from the Township Committee wants to actually pull one of these off, we can vote for them all together. So that's 4 items. Anyone want to pull an item off? All? Or 1 or 2 or 3? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have 2 resolutions that are not on the consent agenda, and let me read them together. That's resolution 2021-112, authorizing the Department of Public Works to remediate Block 57, Lot 14, also known as 261, Route 202, 206. The second resolution is resolution number 2021.
Mayor, may I interrupt? There is a typo. It should be, the second resolution should be lot 15.
Lot 15.
It's
Yep.
accurately reflected in the resolutions before you, but it is 255 Route 202, 206 is lot 15, although the blocks is 57 for both. So I just wanted the committee to be aware of that before you read the resolution.
Okay, so the second resolution, 2021-113, authorizing the Department of Public Works to remediate Block 57, Lot 15, 255, Route 202, 206. Now, this is something that, we've talked about individually. We've talked about it certainly with the zoning official and the code official. So what I'm going to do right now is talk about the properties. These are the two properties on Route 202, 206 on the southbound side. Maybe one or two down from the Pluckman Presbyterian Church, and two up from the relatively new white buildings, that small buildings, and across from, trying to think what's directly across there.
Metro Mail.
From what used to be the barber shop. Yeah, thanks. Those properties have been in a deteriorated condition. Paint peeling, broken windows, overgrown vegetation. I went by the property. I know Colin went by the property. I think all the TC members went by the property. Our code officials went by the property, and John Nance also went by the property to see how it looked and what could be done. A couple of years ago, we actually introduced an ordinance regarding maintenance of properties in certain areas of Bedminster. This resolution would acknowledge the condition of the property and authorize the town to take action. And before we do so, since I've been on Township Committee and probably well before my time here, this committee has held with high regard and high respect the rights of property owners. However, we recognize that we live in a community, and what happens at one property can have an adverse effect on surrounding properties and communities themselves and neighborhoods. We took action by approving an ordinance several years ago that gave the township authority to take action when appropriate. The property owner of these two properties were actually Susanna Karas, who's our new zoning official, is going to walk through some details regarding the property. But certainly we're all familiar with it, but for purposes of the public record, I'm going to now turn it over to Susanna to just talk about the property, where it's been in compliance and where it stands today. So Susanna, welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I don't, am I able to share the screen with you guys?
You should be, I just added it.
Okay, so let me just make sure. Okay, do you guys see anything, or is it just blank right now?
Just
It's blank and we see your cursor.
Okay, hold on 1 minute.
Susanna, sometimes if you stop sharing your screen and then you click share entire screen, and it'll show your tabs, and then you can open that tab.
Okay, let me see if this is. Do you guys see anything now or no?
Yeah.
Nope, not yet. Just your pen.
Just the pen. Okay, give me 1 minute. Anything now?
No.
That is good.
Now we lost the pen.
We see less.
Oh, no. Okay.
You might have to, as Gina said, you might have to share the whole screen or the specific window with the application. Sometimes that'll do it.
Yeah, but you might have to stop sharing your screen first and do it again.
So just exit out. Okay. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, you guys see anything?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so pretty much there's two properties adjacent to each other, just as you guys stated. 255 Route 20206, Block 57, Lot 15, I'll start with. So pretty much the property is currently having vegetation issues. There's overgrown grass and shrubs. There's deteriorating paint, siding. There's also some safety issues when it comes to the safety of the property. As Ken Rogers went out to the property and found out that the exterior stairs and guardrails are missing. Ingress and egress on the side and rear doors are unsafe. So zoning has reached out in attempts for them to meet compliance. So this is the notice that was sent. It was sent June 3rd. There was no follow-up to this. And then obviously this is the ordinance that was, trying to be enforced when it comes to maintenance. This is the property as it was in May 27th. So nothing resulted from this. There was no communication, no compliance. And then there was the adjacent property right next to this property, which is under the same ownership, which also was having similar issues, which I can pull up as well. Let me see if I can. 1 minute. I'm just going to exit this screen sharing. Hold on 1 second. All right, can you guys see that? 261?
Yes.
You guys can see that? Okay, so
Yes.
this is the property directly adjacent to the prior property. So same thing. A notice was sent out. There was no follow-up or anything. This is the property in May, kind of where it stood, and the ordinance here. So there was a summons issued, no court. There was no appearance in court. So right now we're just having to deal with either a new court date, hoping that they comply, or trying to have the township, take some action through public works and kind of maintaining the property for safety reasons. I also have, let me also show. So, properties in that area are very well maintained. Let me just show you guys some of the current properties and how they're maintained versus this one, and why, this is a big concern for the overall neighborhood. You guys don't see anything right now, right?
No, we do.
We see
It's
the
a-
neighborhood property.
The Oasis Spa.
Okay, so let me go, I think it's up. 1 second. So these were taken last Thursday. So as you can see, the area is very well, maintained. So those two properties stick out a great deal. They're right over here. And yeah, it's pretty bad. I do have pictures that were taken last Thursday. So obviously since May to now, it's overgrown tremendously. So
Wow.
this is 261. Let me just rotate this. As you can see, it's pretty bad at this point. And then we do have a window open. This is at 261. Right here. And then 255. This was taken again last week.
Oof.
Yeah. So that's kind of where they stand, both of the properties. So the township is looking to at least take some action with regards to safety and, clearing of vegetation. So it's not such an eyesore. So that's where the resolutions kind of come into play.
It's like those trees are hiding the house. though.
Yeah, exactly. Ken Rogers, while we have you here, anything from your inspections of the property?
The unsafe conditions need to be addressed through a notice, a uniform construction code notice that will likely get sent out tomorrow.
Mr.
It
Rogers,
will be-
Mr. Rogers, if I may, before you send that out, just make sure that you send it to me so I can review that
Sure.
before it's issued.
Yes, and there'll be separate ones, one for each building, addressing the specific safety issues that are covered by the Uniform Construction Code.
Now, just to be clear, no one lives, as far as we know.
Mhm.
These are unoccupied structures.
Mhm.
I certainly hope no one is occupying them. But as is evident from the photos that Susanna took, and from anyone who drives through Pluckman, these are more than eyesores, certainly approaching safety hazards. We did see some, just walking by, we saw liquor bottles around the building. So hopefully no one thinks it's a great hangout. And John Bellardo, maybe you can just sort of walk us through what is actually in the resolutions.
Yes, and before we do that, Mayor, both resolutions indicate that the testimony was presented to you by the Township Zoning Officer and the Director of the Department of Public Works. We would now modify the resolutions to indicate that we've heard testimony from the Township Construction Official. So if Mr. Mance is there and could offer some brief testimony concerning his visual inspections of the property, that would also assist in setting forth the record.
But I think we're going to need you on microphone so we pick you up.
Based on
Did you?
of the township, I did take a look at the properties, and both properties are very well overgrown. There's a lot of vines and stuff on the house. As Ken indicated, there's quite a bit of deterioration of the property, of the structure itself. There's also some down trees on the north side of the property, here and the adjacent property. So take a considerable amount of time for us to clean up the property and make it look.
And John, when you're talking about cleaning up the property, making it look presentable, you're really looking at the vegetation, clearing the vegetation, not necessarily the painting or the structural issues that that Ken identified.
Right. It's only the vegetation portion of it is what you're requiring us to do at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you, John. Any other questions for John Mance or for Susanna or Ken before we turn it back to John Bellardo?
No.
Nope.
Okay, John. So just walk us through the process and how we're following our earlier ordinance.
Sure, Mayor. And both of these properties were acquired on the same date, as the resolution indicates, on April 1, 2015 by Jorge L. Vitarera and Kerry L. Brennan as trustees of the Oak Developers 1K plan. They're referred to as the owners in the resolution. I have had the opportunity to speak with both Mr. Vidatora and Ms. Brennan and indicate that the Township Committee is quite concerned about the appearance of the properties and is looking to move forward with possibly remediating the properties. Both were aware that we intended tonight to address resolutions concerning the properties. So there is awareness. My understanding is that there was non-appearance in municipal court on one of these properties, although that has not yet resulted in the issuance, to the best of my knowledge, of a bench warrant for arrest. So as the resolution indicates, this has been an ongoing problem. These properties have been in violation of our ordinance section 319 since at least August 2020, which is the property maintenance VN village neighborhood zone. The committee and staff are aware that the former zoning officer, Joseph Haggerty, had engaged in extensive communications with Mr. Vidatora concerning voluntary remediation and bringing these properties up to township and neighborhood standards without success. So this is not as if the township has decided to rush forward with these resolutions. And in fact, the township has been more than patient, has exercised tremendous patience in attempting to work with the property owners. And the ordinance indicates that the owners have failed to comply and otherwise refused or neglected and determined not to remediate and comply. As Susanna indicated, she is the township zoning officer, previously served the owners with notices of violation, again indicating that the township wanted the properties brought up to speed. Again, that was without success. So the ordinance indicates that we should specify the conditions for each of the properties that are in violation of the ordinance. Both resolutions do that. Lot 15 indicates 5 conditions. Lot 14, 4 conditions. One thing I should note in both, there is just a slight typo. We should amend. It indicates overgrown landscaping / scrubs. It should probably be shrubs. So when we adopt this, we will move forward with that edit. Okay, so what the township is looking to do, and that's in the now therefore be resolved, is to proceed to remediate the ongoing violations in whole or in part after affording the owners due process as set forth in the ordinance. So we are going to notify the owners that there will be a hearing before this township committee at 7 p.m. on Monday, September 20th, 2021. We are going to serve owners with a copy of this resolution and afford them due process by regular mail, registered mail, Federal Express to the addresses set forth in the resolution. I'm instructing township staff to laminate so it does not get disturbed by weather. Laminate a copy of the resolution and affix it to the front door of the property by nailing or otherwise. My office is also going to retain a subpoena service to attempt to personally serve the owners at their addresses. So we are going to move forward with this. This is why the ordinance was enacted, to ensure that properties in the particular village zone are not blights and do not deteriorate further and detract from what is certainly a very significant and important quarter in Bedminster Township.
And John, to be clear, the expenses undertaken by the municipality in essentially prosecuting the compliance and our what's available to us under the ordinance, all those expenses are then applied as liens against the property?
Correct, Mayor. The next step after the hearing, and again, assuming that there is no further effort between now and September 20th by the owners to bring these properties into compliance, if the township chooses to move forward to remediate in whole or in part, the township zoning officer will then certify the cost thereof to the township committee. We will then examine the certificate, and if we find it correct, shall cause the cost as shown thereon to be charged against said building or lands. It will become a lien upon such buildings and lands and shall be added to and become and form part of the taxes next to be assessed and levied upon such dwellings or lands. It will bear interest at the same rate as other unpaid taxes and shall be entitled to be collected and enforced by township officers and staff in the same manner as taxes. So we're moving forward in accordance with the ordinance. We're providing the property owners with due process. As I said, I personally reached out to both of these owners last Friday by telephone in order to give them an informal heads up and to advise them that we were moving forward tonight. And if they chose to appear either by Zoom or in person at this meeting, they certainly were entitled to do so and offer their side of the events. Obviously, it appears neither is here either in person or by Zoom.
Okay, thank you, John. I will note that It looks like over the weekend, John, your phone call with certainly one of the owners may have had some effect. It looked like someone went out there, chopped the weeds down a little bit. But I would say, I think a lot of us have driven by and say the site still requires more remediation. So whatever was done over the weekend was certainly not enough to forestall proceeding with the resolution. Okay, so that's the resolution. That's certainly the presentation from our professionals. Questions or comments from Township Committee?
Just to add on there, I mean, look, we take great pride in our town. As you mentioned, it also impacts the values of the adjacent properties. I'm concerned because we've heard this, I think we've all heard it from residents over the last several years. Right? They called us to complain about the site, the look of this property, which quite frankly, looks like Jurassic Park a couple years after they come back and visit the island. Everything's overgrown. It's a mess. It's been a mess for years. We've tried to take action and they've simply ignored us. So this is an appropriate next step.
Okay.
No, I agree with Colin. When you're walking around, especially in the hills, people like to walk to the stores and everything, and really is an eyesore for anyone who's walking by and or driving by. And I think that it's time to move forward and take some action.
It's an easy place if some kids want to cause some trouble. Nobody ever goes there. You never see anybody around. If they want to do something dumb, nobody would say anything. And after seeing those pictures, I didn't realize how dangerous that could be for our kids. So we need to do something. I mean, it's ugly. I walk by there all the time and the weeds are terrible. But when you see the damage that's done to the buildings, the structures themselves, that's really dangerous for the kids. And we have to have that fixed.
Agreed. Doug, anything to add?
No, just the fact, sort of pick up on what Renee was saying, that the fact these properties are vacant, but yet we're seeing some evidence of some sort of occupation, through discarded bottles or what have you. This is not chipped paint, right? This is structural integrity. This is also the outside appearance affecting other neighborhoods and other properties, I should say. And I think you said it right, at the start, Mayor. This is not something that we're looking for properties to, give a hard time to, or property owners to give a hard time to. This is a long time coming. We've been incredibly patient with this site, and the time is now.
It's also remark upon the, Doug, you reported from HPC, and certainly Colin and I have seen from the Land Use Board. Property owners are very interested in Pluckman Village in the center, and they're ready to put money into improving the buildings, tearing down the buildings that aren't right, that aren't working for their tenants, and putting new investment and perhaps new structures into Pluckman Village. You just can't have these conditions in what is our downtown, right? That is our downtown. That's downtown Bedminster, right there.
And the current residents in that area, they spend a lot of money taking care of the other properties.
Yes.
So that's not fair to penalize them by letting these two slide.
Right. It's certainly hurting. It's hurting the surrounding properties and really, the entire area around it. So having said that, may we have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-112. This is the resolution concerning Block 57, Lot 14, 261 Route 202, 206.
And also to indicate that the resolution will so be amended together with the next resolution to indicate that construction official Ken Rogers will also offer testimony tonight.
All right, so with John's comments regarding Ken's testimony, we have a motion to approve resolution 2021-112.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. McNeil.
Aye.
Ms. Boraski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. Resolution number 2021-113. This is the same resolution. This is concerning the property known as Block 57, Lot 15, 255 Route 202-206, with, again, the, well, I guess changing scrubs to shrubs and acknowledging the testimony from construction official Ken Rogers. May we have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Hickey,
Aye.
Mr. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacob.
Aye. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Ken. Thank you,
Thank
John
you.
Mance. Thank you, John Bellardo, for your work in moving this forward.
And Mayor, I will work with both Mr. Rogers and Miss Ray to effectuate service. I think we could kill two birds with one stone. If Mr. Rogers is going to issue violation notices under the Uniform Construction Code, we can include those with the resolution when we serve. So I will work with both of them in the morning to coordinate that.
Great. Thank you. We have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacob.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, new business. Do we have any items for new business? Seeing none, old business, COVID-19 emergency. We've already covered those numbers. The DOT improvements, I covered those in those earlier comments. Committeeman Hickey, update on utilities.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have some updates. First off, JCP&L, Carol Bianchi from JCP&L, who is our municipal liaison, will be attending our next meeting on August 16th to address the recent power outages in the hills and the steps they are taking to minimize future outages. Carol and I have already discussed additional spot tree trimming on the circuit path that's impacting this particular set of homes, along with peeling back the onion on the circuit performance data to see what the data is telling us. So more to follow on that one, but Carol will be here next meeting. Altice, we have some good news. Good news. You may recall some months ago, we asked Altice to assess the viability of upgrading the hills to a fiber to the home network. Just for comparison, what exists right now is a hybrid fiber coax network, which much of it was constructed when the hills was built some 30 plus years ago. And just to get my geek on, a hybrid fiber coax network is a fiber optic network from the cable head end, which is the point of transmission, all the way on down. But once you get to the last mile, which is what's referred to in the cable industry, which is typically either a neighborhood or a collection of neighborhoods, you go from fiber to coaxial cable. So that's what a hybrid fiber coax network is. This is aging infrastructure that existed in a pre-broadband era and contributes in part to the problems that people are experiencing today with the service. Obviously, we heard it back in February, March, when we had over 100 people on the line complaining about the service they're receiving from Altice. Altice has run their numbers and agreed to upgrade the infrastructure to a full fiber to the home network at their expense. That should provide a higher speed service, another option, and better performance in the neighborhoods in the hills, particularly those not currently served by Verizon Fios. The catch is, this requires digging up private roadways and landscaping to lay the fiber, which obviously is the purview of the individual homeowners associations. Altice indicated that if they have a substantial number of HOAs who want to upgrade, they will pursue the project. So now it's incumbent on us to get the word out to the masters associations, the homeowners associations, and our residents. So back in the day, you may recall, it was call your cable company and say, I want my MTV. Now it's call your board and say, I want my high-speed internet. Committeewoman Moreski and I, who are the two Hills liaisons, will reach out to the masters associations, apprise them of the situation, and schedule a time when Altice can present to the homeowners representatives. And as I say, more to follow.
So it's interesting because at the farmer's market,
Drink.
All hands at the farmer's market.
at the farmer's market, I did hear a few, once again, as expected, and certainly we've heard this in Bedminster before, complaints about cable service, and I was able to articulate the repair, well, they're not even repairs, they're really improvements. It's new infrastructure that Optimum Altice would be implementing. And the question I got was, well, from a couple people was, well, does that mean fiber to the home? Yes, that means fiber to the home. Oh, really? So I think there's going to be a lot of interest by the residents. But once again, just as you mentioned, since it does require disruption to the landscaping and the roadways and some of the parking areas, the condo associations themselves need to be on board. But certainly from what we've been hearing, all of us,
Mhm.
the residents are demanding better cable service, or I'm sorry, better internet service. And this is the way to get it. So good luck with your meetings with the master associations, but this is what the residents want. This is what our residents want, and this is what the condo owners want themselves. So hopefully you have receptive master associations and receptive condo associations, neighborhood associations that see things the same. So that's very good news. And it's also something that we can promote both on the Bedminster Township website and on our own social media to push this message out there, that there's an option coming down the road, and jump on board and talk to your condo associations to put them in line.
And we did have FiOS.
Yes. Now your neighborhood is
installed in
FiOS.
Crestmont.
We're
So
one of the lucky ones.
we're one of the smart ones. We took them up on their offer. And it was disruptive. They did cut up our brand new streets, but it wasn't for very long, and it was really worth it.
Good. And that's a message. And actually, that's a message to get across as well, is that the disruption is temporary
Mhm.
and landscaping can be replaced.
Mhm.
Doug, anything new with Pluckman Park on the housing situation?
Nothing new, Mayor.
Okay. Let's go to Township Committee comments. We do not have an executive session. All right. Township Committee comments, Committeeman Stevenson.
Just my only comment is to, again, thank you in particular, Mayor, but thank you all for the improvements at River Road. That's obviously been a huge issue, and the accidents that have been going on there, certainly a long time coming, but I think a welcome improvement there for all the flow, and everybody hopefully will be safer. So thank you for spearheading that and taking the bull by the horns and getting such a quick result.
Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Mayor, no comments, thank you.
Committeewoman Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. I just again want to say thank you to Beyond the Call of Duty for them coming up to our town and putting on such a great little event. It was very moving. It was very emotional. But we all feel this way about all our police officers. So it's just a reinforcement to those guys who are still here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Just to piggyback on Renee's comment, thank you to Beyond the Call of Duty as well. And just wanted to reiterate my deepest condolences to the Brady family. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. I have no further comments. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ken.
Good night.